Hello everyone, welcome to Codestur. So this is lecture number 7 from the C++ beginner to advanced series. Okay, so in lecture 6 we did some basic questions on loops and you would have got a better idea on how loops work, right? So you got to know about three kinds of loop. So you got to know about three kinds of loop: the for loop, the while loop, and the do while loop, right? Out of them, for loop is mostly used, and then the while loop. Do while loop has some specific use cases, that's it. So most of the time we would be using for and while loops, right? And that you have seen in these previous lectures, right? So in this particular lecture we are going to do some pattern problems, right? As you can see on the screen, this is a pattern, right? Some specific pattern is being seen here, so it is called a pattern problem, and all these pattern problems are being done using loops, right? So let's begin with the first pattern problem. So this is the pattern problem. This is what we have to draw. The first observation that we need to do is number of rows, right? Number of rows are 3 here. So this is basically an algorithm that I used to follow every single time when I used to do pattern problems, right? So on getting the number of rows as 3, I would run a loop 3 times, right? What I do is that for int I is equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus, then I'll do something like that. Fine. So what I'm trying to do here is that in every iteration I'll print a single line. Okay, so this is being iterated 3 times, right? In the first iteration I'll print this line, in the second iteration I'll print this line, in the third iteration I'll print this line. Simple. This is just what I'll try to do. Okay, so you've got an idea how do these rows work. Fine. So let's write it formally. Let's write the code formally. Okay, so beginning it for int I is equal to 0, I less than 3, and I plus plus. Okay, so in every iteration I'll try to print a single line, right? How will I print this line? Try to understand this. This line contains 5 stars. This line contains just 5 stars, right? Every line is containing just 5 star. This number is fixed, right? This number is fixed. So how will I do it? In every single line, what I'll do is that I'll just run another loop for int j is equal to 0, j less than 5, j plus plus. What I'll do is that I'll do this cout star and I'll leave a space here. Okay, so just remember I'll leave a space here. Okay, this for loop is closed. So how is it working? I entered this bigger loop. Now try to understand this. This is the row pointer, right? I'm traveling row with this loop, right? In a particular row I'm traveling this column, that is 5 times, right? And in each column I'm just printing a star and a space. That means star space, star space, star space, star space, star space. This is how it is looking, right? But for the next line to get printed, I have to print it in the next line now, right? So simply what I have to do is that after this column wise printing, I have to just write cout endl so that the pointer moves to the next line, and that's it. So how will this run is that in a column star 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 and star, and then we'll encounter this endl again 5 stars. Again it will encounter this endl, and again 5 stars. After this, the loop, the outer loop, that means the row loop, gets terminated. So this is how these pattern problems work upon. So this is a basic syntax. Actually this is a common syntax. You have to work upon rows, right? The outer loop will be based upon rows, and then the inner loop, the each iteration of the inner loop will represent the processing of the column that you want to print on the screen, right? Fine. Moving on to the second pattern problem. This is looking quite more complex than the older one, right? So try to understand. This is row 0, this is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and row 5, right? So basic number of rows is equal to 6. Done. What I will do is that for int I is equal to 0, I less than 6, and I plus plus. Okay, this is done, and inside this I'll implement each of the columns. I'll implement each of the columns, right? So how will I implement here? Just try to understand. When I is 0, 1 star is getting printed, right? When I is 1, 2 stars are getting printed. When I is 2, 3 stars are getting printed. When I is 3, 4 stars are getting printed. Observing the pattern, right? When we have I, then we have to print I plus 1 stars, right? This is the trick that is going to work in this problem. See, how will I turn it into a loop? For int j is equal to j is equal to 0, j less than I plus 1, j plus plus. Now try to understand. This particular loop will run I plus 1 time, right? This particular loop will run I plus 1 time, and that's what I wanted every time, right? What I have to do is that I have to do just this: cout star space. Done. One row is completed, like the printing of one row column wise is completed. Moving on to the next row, cout endl, and that's it. The code will work fine. So you encountered a new pattern here. We got a 0 and we printed 1 star. We got a 1 and we printed 2 stars. Similarly, we got a I and we printed I plus 1 stars. So this is how it is working. This is the trick. This is not a trick, basically. This is a simple observation. And once you start doing pattern problems, you will get to know about more such observations. Fine. Moving on to the next pattern problem. Okay. So this is another case. This is again row number 0, row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, and row number 4. So we have rows is equal to 5, right? Simple. For int I is equal to 0, I less than 5, and I plus plus, right? And inside this I'll implement each of the row column wise. Right? You have to understand this. I will implement each of the row column wise. Like I have to print column wise, right? But I'm printing one row at a time. I'm working on one row at a time, right? See, here I is 0. When I is 0, I'm printing just 1. When I is 1, I'm printing 1 and then 2. When I is 2, I'm printing 1, 2, 3. When I is 3, I'm printing 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the pattern. I'm always starting with 1. And I'm continuing printing numbers adding by 1 until the number becomes equal to I plus 1. Right or wrong? 1 plus 1 becomes 2, gets stopped at 2. 2 plus 1 becomes 3, gets stopped at 3. 3 plus 1 becomes 4, gets stopped at 4. Fine, now I've got a trick, right? The trick is that j should vary from 1 to I plus 1. And this time, instead of printing the star, I'll simply print j, because j is containing the same number that we wanted, right? Okay, so inside this, for int j is equal to 0, and also I is 0 and we are printing some one character, right? I is 1, we are printing two characters. I is 2, we are printing three characters. That means like j is going to turn out I plus 1 times, right? J less than I plus 1, j plus plus, right? What I have to print is that cout, I'll just print j plus 1 and then I'll print a space. Simple. Okay, let's check it once. Okay, for this I is equal to 0, j will be less than 1. That means it will run one time, and that time j will be 0 and 0 plus 1 would be 1. That means cout will be 1. That's it. It's fine. And as usual, moving on to the next line, we write cout end line. Fine, done. Quite simple. New pattern. Instead of printing star, I just printed 1 2 3, right? I just printed 1 2 3 4, something like that. No issues. Completely fine. Moving on to the next problem. Okay, looking quite complicated, right? This is just opposite to what you did in the last problem, right? As simple, number of rows is equal to 5. Done. Again, the same template. For int I is equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Done. Okay, so when I is 0, I'm printing 5 characters. When I is 1, I'm printing 4 characters. When I is 2, I'm printing 3 characters. When I is 3, I'm printing 2 characters. And when I is 4, I'm printing 1 character. Look at the pattern. This is nothing but 5 minus 0, 5 minus 1, 5 minus 2, 5 minus 3, and 5 minus 4. Generalizing this is nothing but row minus I. That means for a particular row, the number of characters that has to be printed is equal to total number of rows minus the current row you are working upon. Fine. So writing it into code, for int j is equal to 0, j less than, number of rows are 5, right? And I will be kept as I, and then doing j plus plus. What I'll print here, I'll just print j plus 1 and then I'll print space. Simple. The row gets completed column wise printing, and then I'll do cout and then that's it. New pattern, reverse, just reverse of the third question, right? You have to observe these patterns. How are these working? Fine. Moving on to the fifth problem. Okay, this is quite complicated, but the starting procedure remains as it is, right? Number of rows is equal to 5. Simple. For int I is equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Fine. Now we'll work upon row by row in this problem. right? Sorry, we will work upon row by row in this problem, and we'll break a particular row into parts. I'll show you how I'll do this. Look, let's focus on this row first. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Right. So as you can see here, the numbers are increasing first, reaching a maximum of 3 and then decreasing again to the first value. That is 1. Right. That is 1. Right. First of all, you need to understand how many characters are being printed in a particular row. For 0th row, I am printing 1 character. For 1, I am printing 3. For this, 5, 7 and 9. This is nothing but 2 into I plus 1, where I is equal to current row. Fine. I is current row. 2 into I plus 1 will be the number of characters that are going to be printed in that particular row. So, how is this 2 into I plus 1 defined here? Try to understand this. As you can see, number of characters are always odd, and that is being observed here, right? Plus 1, 2 into I plus 1, this is even, and adding 1 makes it odd, right? So what is this 1 and what is this 2 into I? Now try to understand. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Try to understand this. 1 and 2, 2 and 1. Okay, 3 remains idle. Why? Because 3 is extra. So this 1 corresponds to this 3. This 2 into I, that means one of the I is here and one of the I is here. So this is what it meant actually, 2 into I plus 1. So how am I actually going to print it? How am I actually going to print it? Okay, let's try to understand. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and this is for I is equal to 2. Okay, as you can see, for I is equal to 2, I have these 2 characters and again these 2 characters at the back. Fine, this is observable. Let's suppose for I is equal to 3, I have this 1, 2, 3 here, and then again 3, 2, 1 here. For I is equal to 4, I have this 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and again 4, 3, 2, 1 here. So why not? I break this entire row into 3 parts. Part 1, part 2 and part 3. What I'll do is that I'll write a separate loop for this, and then I'll print this single character, and then I'll write a separate loop for this. Fine. Let's see how will it look like. Let's see. Okay. Fine. What I'll do is that I'll try it this way. For int j is equal to 0, j less than I, j plus plus. What I'll do is that I'll do this. See out j plus 1. Okay, simple. That means I've completed this first part, right? Let's suppose we take I is equal to 2. J less than 2, that means this loop will run 3 times. Sorry, j less than 2 means that this loop will run 2 times. J will be equal to 0 one time and then 1. So 0 plus 1 will turn out to be 1. 1 plus 1 will turn out to be 2. So I'll get 1 and 2 printed here. Fine. So this completes the first part of the row. I'll print the first part of the row. Then I have to print the single character 3. How will I print it? This is nothing but I plus 1 every single time. Look here. 4 plus 1 is 5. 3 plus 1 is 4. 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 plus 1 is 2. 0 plus 1 is 1. Fine. I have to do nothing. I've just print cout I plus 1 and then this space. Done. And then printing the last part. But this is in reverse order. You already know how to print things in reverse order now. Okay. For int, I'll do this. Int j is equal to j is equal to I. Okay, I'll do j greater than 0, and then I'll do j minus minus. So try to understand this. J is equal to I means for I is equal to 2, j will come out to be 2, j will come out to be 1, and on coming to 0 the loop will get terminated. So what I have to print on the screen? Simply j, right? Or I could have written just start from j is equal to I minus 1, and then I could have printed C out j plus 1, and then here changes would come. C greater than j greater than equal 0. Fine, that's fine for you, right? And then, so this is part 1, this is part 2, and this is part 3. Done with the 3 parts. Then what I have to do? Simple, move on to the next line to print the next row, right? Move on to the next line to print the next row. Simple, just write cout handle. Done. Done with the code. So this is what this code will look like. The question might be looking difficult in the beginning, but upon breaking it into 1, 2, and 3 parts, the question becomes quite easy. Fine. So this is how we do pattern problems. I'll tell you one more variation. So what they will do is that instead of giving you this pattern directly, they'll just give you a value of n. Let's suppose the value of n is 6. You have to draw this pattern yourself. How will this work? The pattern will be this, right? The pattern will look like this. So what will be the changes in the code? The place where I am writing 5, which is kept fixed, I'll just replace this by n. Simple. The place where I am writing this 5, I'll replace this by n. Simple, that's it. The code gets changed into a dynamic one. This is a static one, right? Because 5 is remaining constant always. But if I want something dynamic, like I want to take input from the user of n, of how much rows he or she wants to print, right? I'll just take input, and then I'll pass n here. As simple as that. Let's see in this one, I'll just pass n here. Okay, this is I, this will have no changes. Similarly, I'll place n here, simple. And similarly, I'll place, like here you can take 2 inputs now. One is row and one is column, right? I'll place row here and I'll place column here. Simple. Let's see in the last problem as well. So for this problem, I'll have n here, right? I'll replace 5 by n. That's it. And the code will work. No issues, right? Okay. So this is how pattern problems work. So if you have some more pattern problems, just type them in the comment box, and if I find them good enough, I'll make another tutorial video on that. Fine. So with this we complete the section of loops. So the pattern problems were basically discussed to improve your understanding of loops, right? So once you do these pattern problems, you will find yourself at a better place in context of loops, right? Okay, so completing this tutorial, we'll move on to the next topic in the C++ beginner to advanced series. The next topic will be functions. Okay, another important topic coming up, guys. Fine. So that's it from this video. Hope you are doing well. Keep doing well. So if you are liking the content, please do like the video and subscribe the channel. Also do share it with your friends so that they also get something better. Until then, bye bye. The next video will be soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.